The Acolyte, the Starfield of Disney.
Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now July 2nd of 2024, and given that The Acolyte Episode 6 looms for Disney+, Episode 5 failed to reverse the backlash. We all know it, and Lucasfilm knows it. That's exactly why they've been all heading into desperate damage control. Those out there like, of course, Amanda Stenberg, Leslie Headland, and most importantly, Kathleen Kennedy, really protecting the show at all costs. Now, we know that those like...
Well, they always protect the show from any criticism, obviously. That's kind of what you're supposed to do, theoretically. But, man, when things are going this bad, and you're like, oh no, a 60%, 70% audience drop is no big deal. People love the show anyway. This show was made for the, 5 people left watching it. It is absolutely crazy. It is not even a secret at this point. It's just an open thing that everyone knows, that you don't watch The Acolyte. You let people like me and others watch The Acolyte for you and then talk about how bad it is because there's no point in watching it. And House of the Dragon is still going on, 3 episodes in. Pretty decent. Episode 3 is probably the weakest, but that's because Rhaenyra, Season 1 Rhaenyra, who we all liked her, right? She was likable, she was nice, she was ever. But now, considering her position and everything that she has done, it's kind of hurting the show because you're supposed to not like her because she's making bad decisions. But because you liked her previously so much, now the show seems worse than it actually is. Because Rhaenyra is just a bad character currently. But she's intended to be a bad character. It's like watching Joffrey do things. But there's a lot more of Rhaenyra than Joffrey doing stuff. A tragedy, but the setup is going to probably be there and it's going to be good.
Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, have, of course, headed into damage control of The Acolyte and are really trying to make this show seem a lot better than what it really is. Alright, we all know that they discount all of the criticism going toward this series and the fans that really have...
All the criticism towards this series is pure racism and should be ignored because it's racism. That's right.
Have nothing to do with the show anymore. Most fans have walked away from The Acolyte after episode 3, but I digress. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like...
I believe that people walked away after episode 3 because the reality is episode 5, as I stated previously, was the best episode, but that doesn't mean anything because the show in general is complete trash. It was just the best episode of pure trash. And well, we have had the worst logistics so far in episode 5, honestly, where, it's just, people just teleport all over the place, get items that they shouldn't have. It doesn't make a lot of sense or anything like that. It's just kind of stupid. It's just really kind of dumb and teleporty and stupid. But I guess that doesn't matter.
Like this video to see future updates. You could also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So, one thing about The Acolyte is that we all know that the main problem here, apart from the overall agenda by Disney, and that's the least of its problems as far as I'm concerned, the main problem with The Acolyte, terrible storytelling, the acting is subpar, the writing makes no sense, the overall execution is sloppy, to say the least. This show has so many problems going into it that if you...
Space fire is definitely a problem. Space stones that melt the space fire are also a huge problem. Again, this is why we need mansplaining. Mansplaining is an integral part of society so women understand how the world functions. Because so far, fire has played a pretty important role in this series. And fire has not worked like fire, which is crazy. Now, the most idiotic defenders of this that still exist, they are lurking in the corners of the shadows, are probably going to say, but what if fire doesn't work in the Star Wars universe like in our universe? What if it's different? Okay, it's different. Well, it is space fire at the end of the day. You're right. It's big true, in fact.
Really just go through episode by episode, you can see not only so many back and forth scenarios that make no sense, but you can also see a lot of canon breaking moments in The Acolyte. Now, shifting away from all of this,
does anyone, by the way, enjoy the, ring mail that she has for some reason? And bamboo breastplate that she has for some reason? I really think this is cute and special. I really think they absolutely nailed her ninja-ish space wizard aesthetic or whatever the fuck she's gonna be. I love the dreads also. I love the tattoo that on episode 5 Saul completely missed, and he's like, you smell like burned hair, and you have a strange swirly tattoo. But I guess you're OSHA anyway. Can't feel it. Oh god, it's so stupid.
When it comes down to Kathleen Kennedy, at no surprise, she is going into damage control yet again over the Acolyte after episode 5. Really, failed to fix everything. Let's get into this. Now, with the Acolyte episode 5, already failing to reverse the backlash for both Disney and Lucasfilm, one major development now has more to do with Kathleen Kennedy heading into damage control over the Acolyte ratings disaster, where she delivered the following. I think the growing problem, especially in this industry, is the rise of toxic males, putting so much pressure on the bright young female stars, especially in our series, The Acolyte, where you see it happening there, and we see this happening many times with Rey in the sequels. Many like to use the term agenda, when in reality I don't think any fan really knows what that even means. We have carefully gone over and reviewed the critics and criticism of this series that we delivered, and we have heard nothing but fantastic.
Is he making this up? Again, Mike makes everything up. But is he making this up? I'm not sure. The thing about him is, he does make up things to a relatively believable extent. So unless you know that there's something that he's saying is complete bull, stupid, or doesn't fit reality, because that's not how it happens, you wouldn't even be able to guess it. And this is one of those situations. Can I imagine Kathleen Kennedy saying something that absolutely brain damaged? Yes, obviously. Who can't? Because this is how we got where we are. Thanks, Kat. You're a jewel that never stops shining. It is what it is. But is this true? Is this actually a quote, or is this just made up?
Fantastic things about what Leslie had created. Fans love this show, and any others saying otherwise, I think, are stuck in their own narrative. This is a series for women, by women.
You know what I love? Leslie Lesbian's wife. Diverse acting, diverse looking, diverse... How? How can you be just that bad? How?
And I couldn't be more proud to be the one who got to work with Leslie Headland. We believe representation is our #1 priority here at Lucasfilm and Disney, and we believe any level of criticism that we are receiving holds nothing to do with the storytelling, but rather the ongoing issue of those that remain opposed to representation and diversity, especially in a series like Star Wars. Now guys, before I move on about what Kathleen Kennedy is spewing again, this just goes to show you that she is literally admitting that representation is their priority over proper storytelling and character development. Now look, representation is fine, diversity is fine if it comes naturally throughout the writing process. If you're writing a script and it so happens to fit the story, then so be it.
Dude, these child actors also are so unbelievably god-awful, it's not even funny. And I know people don't like when people say child actors are bad, but it's just true. There are so many movies that have child actors, and it's fine. But here, oh god, they're so bad. They're worse than her. And that's impressive. That's right. Well, they're not worse than Lesbian Helody's wife, but, still, really bad.
But in this case, and in many cases, mainly by Lucasfilm, they're notorious, by the way, under Disney's wing, for shoehorning in a lot of their overall DEI agenda. But when you have those like Kathleen Kennedy literally admitting...
Shoehorning in? Bruh, this whole show was made to just be a giant DEI agenda. Every episode, we can literally play spot the white male. In most episodes, you lose because there is none. Okay? This is not shoehorn DEI. This is literally what happens when DEI exists, and it's the only thing that exists.
That their agenda is a priority over storytelling, that's when you have a problem, and it's exactly why this new Rey movie is
the most prominent white guy in the series killed himself because reasons, and those reasons were that one of these freaks set Space Stone on fire with a space torch, okay, and then they blame themselves. Does that make sense? No. Why does one of them get a tattoo on the side of their head while she gets in the middle? I don't know.
is going to fail as much as the Acolyte series. By the way, filming is delayed for that until 2025. This is exactly what
Can blacks in Disney Star Wars have anything else than dreads? No, that's definite. No, only dreads. Or you listen, if you're black and you're watching this, look in the mirror, and if you don't have dreads, you're not black. Ask Disney, they know. It's true. If you, how can you be black if you don't have dreads? Impossible.
I've been talking about. This most likely is not coming out now until 2027. She goes on to conclude again, it's just irresponsible behavior that needs to be addressed constantly, and it's something I informed Leslie about ahead of shooting this thing. We knew we had to do something unique for the fans. We knew we had to hire those that didn't really know anything about Star Wars to create an unbiased production, and
that's true.
Worked out perfectly for us in the long run. What it boils down to are fans hold this issue with women playing strong, powerful roles above men. And this is something that I think we need to correct over time and make some of our customers realize that women are important too. The Acolyte is one of our finest stories yet, and I am not willing to
even women in Star Wars don't care about women. If women cared about Star Wars, there would be a lot of women watching Star Wars. But you know what they are doing instead? They're watching detectives. They're watching scary, spooky mystery stories. And, you know, some guy with a deep voice on YouTube telling creepypastas. That's what they're doing. That's what women like. And if you like Star Wars and you're a woman, that's fine. But Star Wars is mainly not for women. And you can't turn Star Wars into something that is for women. Unless you literally turn it into a mystery series. Which, by the way, I think they tried. But you see, the problem with mystery series is, if you're a bad writer, mystery series are really, really, really bad. Yeah. Mystery series are actually pretty hard to write compared to almost anything else. So, good luck Disney with that. You can't even write Star Wars properly, which you would think is really, really simple. But, yeah. Good luck upping the ante and writing science fiction Star Wars mystery series.
Talk about season 2. We don't really have plans for that, but I will say that Leslie is a true Star Wars fan who doesn't take anything for granted and enjoys the entire process of evolving this major brand. We knew we had to shift away from George's vision to expand to something new. It needed to feel new and flow in a unique way to attract new fans.
Well, of course you need to attract new fans when you have destroyed the old ones. Star Wars was one of the absolute largest IPs in the whole goddamn world. And now it's still big, don't get me wrong, but it has shriveled so much under these people. And it doesn't look like it's going to get better at any point. They have lost a lot of the old people who loved Star Wars. Dude, again, Star Wars theory is literally kind of giving up on Star Wars at this point unless they actually start producing something good. That should tell you all you need to know, honestly. But yeah, of course they need new audiences. But what new audiences? Everyone with a brain already liked Star Wars before. You know, I'm still not the biggest fan of Star Wars, but I liked Star Wars. Because most people who have brains are gonna be like, yeah, Star Wars is pretty neat, pretty good. I watched it. Now who's left? No one. Only insane ideologues who only care about messaging, diversity, and inclusion and all of that crap. They will never buy your product. We know how this cycle goes. They lie to support you. You make a product for them. Surprise, surprise. They don't buy it. Mostly because they don't have money, or the ones that do have money are rich. Either it's the super poor or it's the super rich who support this crap, and none of them are buying your crap.
you go down the generations, they tend to enjoy different things, and that's why we had to adapt the series to the modern world and such. Whatever criticism is going on,
And such, no one enjoys it.
with the Acolyte is nothing more than a minority, as far from what we can tell. The Star Wars community tends to attract the toxic side of the fanbase that tries to convince others with their way of thinking.
Disney bought Lucasfilms and Star Wars how long ago? 10 years at this point, and they have not made a profit. They still have not made a profit. That is crazy.
Over what they like and dislike, and it's just unhealthy behavior for Star Wars. This is our finest project yet that represents LGBTQ properly, and you are always.
This is the finest project where your lead star can't make a face that's not like this, and that's insane because people have a problem making this face, but this is her only face that she ever makes, ever. Like, her expressions are as blank and thousand-yard steady as they can get.
Is going to have some level of fans that will be against that and for the wrong reasons. Now, look, again, Kathleen Kennedy keeps going on and on about LGBTQ representation, this and that. Now, look,
I believe that.
all know at the same exact time, she knows the overall truth of what's going on with the Acolyte. This is no different than.
I would argue that maybe she doesn't. I would argue that she legitimately doesn't, because these people in Hollywood live in a bubble. They live in a bubble, and everyone in that bubble is spouting the same shit. That they are all special, they are all the bestest, they are all the greatest, and everyone who doesn't agree with them is wrong, because if they were wrong, they would not be making the Acolyte. That's how this works. I really do think these people are insane. Anyway, I'm guessing that's it, and Mike can't come up with anything else. Anyway, that was Mike Zeroth. A wonderful fairy tales, but it's still the Acolyte, so it's funny. Bye-bye.